Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So, the Democrats have elected their new chair and they have not learned anything from their past mistakes once again, which is good news for us. But I think it just shows how far the Democrat Party has really fallen, how far they've fallen in terms of their competency, in terms of their ability to win and win over middle America. And once again, they decided to select a Minnesota weirdo named Ken Martin, who is an acolyte of none other than Tampon Tim Walz, to be their new DNC chair. And there's just plenty of news we have to cover surrounding the fall of the Democrats. But the main takeaway here is Donald Trump has broken the Democrat Party. He's broken them completely. And their derangement for him has caused them to abandon just all common sense. And as a result, they're losing middle America. They're losing young people. They're losing just voters in general across every single demographic voting block. And they're, most importantly, unwilling to learn from their mistakes. You know, there were some competent people in the Democrats back in like 2018. Before the 2018 midterms, they made sure to message properly on healthcare, run candidates with moderate optics that actually voted just like all of the craziest Democrats in Congress. We saw that take place. That's not to say there weren't their fair growing share of crazy people, but those people now are completely in charge. They have completely taken over the party. And you're kind of seeing it unfold where the old guard of the Democrats, they don't have any say. They all endorsed the Wisconsin guy, Ben Wilker or Wickler, or however you pronounce his name, and he fell short significantly despite having all the pull of like the Pelosi, the Schumer endorsements, etc. The Democrats are not exactly the party that has that old guard in place. They have a new guard full of crazy millennials with no direction other than to oppose everything Trump does and to believe that, no, they have to double down and be even more woke. And this is a problem because the Democrats have an image issue. And we know this because it didn't used to be the case even 5-10 years ago. You know, the Republican Party has their problems. I call out those problems every time. You have a lot of Republican politicians who just operate at odds with what their base, with what their voters want. A lot of Republicans hate their voters. They don't want to follow through on Trump's popular agenda. And, you know, there's a reason why they're underwater too. But Trump has changed the GOP to the point where they're underwater by just 2 points, which is pretty good historically for the Republicans. And then you look at the Democrats, they're more unpopular than ever, according to a poll from Quinnipiac, which is one of their more favorable pollsters. But you look at this, the party has a 57% unfavorable rating among voters, while just 31% say they have a favorable view. And this is, you know, ahead of 2026. Democrats are very confident for some reason in the 2026 midterms, and a lot can change between now and then. And of course, midterm years are harder to predict based on, you know, actual popularity. It's not a full turnout election like a presidential election, and we know that. But you look at this, and what does it exactly show? It shows that a lot of Americans, a lot of voters in general, they're not fans of the Democrat Party. Even a good share of people who vote Democrat at the end of the day do not have a favorable view of the Democrat Party. What does that do? It usually lowers enthusiasm, lowers turnout as a result. And this is their highest unfavorable rating in history because they die on all the worst hills. They're unwilling to change, and you see that. And not only does the DNC chair leadership election show this, it's not like I believe that the other guy was a whole lot better, but you have the meetings that these people go to, the Democrat meetings, and you see what's going on. And after Donald Trump rightfully calls out the fact that there's all this DEI in government, people are not hiring based on merit, they're lowering requirements for jobs like air traffic controllers, completely gutting the old requirements, gutting the old tests, replacing them with much easier tests, recruiting out of much worse schools because the student bodies happen to look a little bit differently and they look a certain way. And you have this focus from the Biden administration, oh, we need X amount of percent of these people in positions in government instead of trying to find the best people for the job. And then people wonder why you're seeing all these close calls. I'm not just talking about the tragedy that took place at DCA this past week, but you've just seen a ridiculous amount of close calls over the past 4 years in general. And that's a major problem. You should be raising requirements. They're lowering them. You know, you want to fix the problem. That's one way you could do it. Trump's right to bring it up. And these people just can't handle that. Donald Trump is talking in a common sense manner about certain things like DEI programs being bad and being harmful. And Republicans understand that this stuff is an electoral loser. But then at the same time, the DNC, this is what they're talking about prioritizing. Like, oh, because Trump is doing something that's popular, oh, we have to oppose everything Trump does. That's just going to cause them to lose even more. You know, they're not picking their battles correctly, which is, you know, it's amusing and entertaining for sure. But for them and their future electoral prospects, not exactly good. And then you see what they're saying, the outgoing DNC chair saying, unlike the other party that is demonizing diversity, we understand it's our greatest strength. It's like, it's your greatest strength. Where did it get you? It got you to your largest electoral loss since 1988. Which again, there's plenty of factors that play into it, but that hyper focus on DEI is probably one of the reasons that caused their defeat and caused their party image to falter a bit. It's not like they're, you know, supporting people based on merit that happen to look different. What they're doing is they're prioritizing, you know, oh, we're going to elevate these people because they look different, etc. You're not doing it based on merit, then the overall merit's going to go down. The overall morale is going to go down. And you have the old guard of the Democrats who would, you know, talk about these things sporadically, but then try to run a tight ship. Now they don't really run a tight ship. And this is why they're incompetent. This is why they're, you know, losing, to be honest. And you see this here. When somebody asked for a show of hands, how many of you believe that racism and misogyny played a role in VP Harris's defeat? So, of course, they're now believing, oh, she did everything right. She ran a perfect campaign. It's the electorate that's just backwards and didn't like her because racism and misogyny, instead of like actually acknowledging the flaws of her as a candidate. Then every single hand went up, and then the leader says, you all passed, meaning like this is just what they believe. They believe they can do no wrong. Everything they do is right. And if people disagree, it's clearly because of these other factors. And the voters are just, you know, awful and believe these things that are just supposedly like not good. Instead of trying to relate to the voters, they just blame things like Mauriceism, misogyny, whatever that means. And on top of it, some of these old guard people are watching it. And this guy texted and said that forum were cooked. They understand that the party is going to struggle in the future because you can't root out the wokeness. There's no attempt to root out the wokeness, even though it's not popular. They're going to keep on losing. And speaking of 2028, let's say they get by in 2026 or at least retake the House. They're not going to retake the Senate because of the way the map is. There's very, very limited possible gains for them to cross that 51 seat threshold, because they would need 51 seats. I don't even think they're going to get to 50. Like, their realistic best case would probably be somewhere around 51. I don't even think they're going to get there. They may even lose a seat, even if they do take back the House and do well in the governor's races. But you look at this right here, and you can see that they clearly have no leader. There's no direction. Kamala Harris is still winning the polls for the Democrat nomination in 2028. Now, granted, she's not in the 40s or 50s like she was in the November-December polls, but the fact that she's still somebody that if she runs, she's seen as the front runner is absolutely absurd. Hillary Clinton wasn't running that high. There's no clear leader. You have Pete Buttigieg in second place. He definitely is somebody that I don't believe is really all that electable and probably could lose if he runs for senator of Michigan in 2026, despite it being a Trump midterm. Then you have Gavin Newsom, who has a lot of baggage, especially with this whole fire stuff going on. You have AOC, who is a total lunatic. And Josh Shapiro, overrated. Tim Walz, we already saw that shit show. And Stephen A. Smith, for some reason, from ESPN was in this poll, and he's at 2%. Probably the best candidate they could realistically run. I don't even know if he's still going to be considering himself a Democrat by the time 2028 rolls around. He, I believe, said he regrets voting for Harris or something. You could correct me if I'm wrong, but they did another poll. And again, they have no clear leader. Kamala Harris leading. Generic Democrat who doesn't exist is at 21. Then you have Gavin Newsom. Bernie Sanders, who's 90. Donald Trump, for some reason, who is A, not a Democrat, B, not eligible to run, is at 3% in their own party. Trump comes in fourth place, ironically enough. That shows you how weak the Democrat bench truly is. Hillary Clinton, of all people, already lost, is at 2%. AOC at 2%, Biden, yeah, that would be hilarious, at 1%. Honestly, may not be the worst they could do, but if we're going to be completely honest here, the Democrats in 2028, they're in disarray. Republicans are going to unite behind J.D. Vance, most likely, and if Trump's term goes well, Vance is likely going to win in 2028, and then you look at the 2030s electoral map, Republicans have such an easy pathway to victory, it's absurd. Democrats may be in a really tough position where they may not be able to recapture the White House until the 2040s and the Senate as well. So, it kind of shows you that they're in disarray and they're completely just coming apart at the seams when a lot of people said that Republicans would be the party not too long ago to never hold power again. It seems like the shoe is on the other foot. I'm sure they'll get it together at some point. That's just how these things go. But for the foreseeable future, it seems as if the Democrats are just a clown show. People don't like them. People don't respect them. And this is good news for Trump. And it's good news for the Republican Party as a whole. And they've got some issues they need to deal with. They need to make sure that, they operate the way they should be operating, not stabbing the base in the back, etc. But this video is not really about them. It's about how Donald Trump is just absolutely just breaking the Democrat Party just by winning, just by not even doing anything. And you see what happens. You see what happens. Resounding victory for Trump. The other side doesn't know how to cope with it. They don't know how to handle it. And there's no direction. There's no leader. There's no lessons that have been learned from their defeat. And that's just the biggest gift to Republicans you could ever think of. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.